Écoute l'histoire en anglais, découvre l'accent sud-africain et appuie-toi sur la traduction française à l'écran pour comprendre sans te perdre, et progresser à ton rythme.
Chapter 4. Heading to South Africa. A new adventure in Pretoria. After 3 months in the United States, it was time for the Martin family to travel again. In their apartment in Washington, Thomas and Emma already knew the usual routine. Open the suitcases, try to fit everything inside, check the passports, and then start again because they had forgotten something. But there was one thing they always packed very carefully, the little blue notebook Charlie had given them. Emma slowly turned the pages. Charlie, United Kingdom. Sophie and Gabrielle, Canada. Ethan, United States. Next to each name, the twins had written an email address, some memories and the most important moments they had shared with their friends. Can you believe it? Emma asked. We now know people in 3 different countries. Thomas smiled. Soon, it will be 4. This time, they were leaving North America completely. Next stop, South Africa. Before they left, Julian asked the whole family to sit around the table. Our 4th mission will be different from the others, he explained. Claire put several photos in front of the teenagers. They showed African landscapes, wild animals, colorful paintings and musicians. We're going to prepare an art exhibition with South African artists, followed by a concert. We want to bring together English-speaking and Afrikaans-speaking artists, French people living in South Africa and local partners. Afrikaans? Thomas asked. Is that a language? Yes, Claire replied. And you'll soon discover that South Africa has many different languages. The country has 12 official languages, including English and Afrikaans, as well as several African languages. Emma looked surprised. 12? Exactly, Julian replied. Here, you'll see that speaking several languages can be a normal part of everyday life. After a long journey, their plane finally landed in South Africa. In Pretoria, the twins discovered a city that felt very different from Washington. Wide streets crossed the city. Large trees surrounded some of the houses, and they could see hills in the distance. Julian explained something unusual about the country. Pretoria is the administrative capital. But South Africa has 3 capital cities. Thomas looked surprised. 3 capitals? Yes. Pretoria is the administrative capital, Cape Town is the legislative capital, and Bloemfontein is traditionally known as the judicial capital. Emma immediately smiled. That's something for the notebook. A few days later, Thomas and Emma started classes at a French school. Just like in Washington, they followed the French school program and also had several hours of English lessons. But they quickly noticed something different. In the hallways, they could hear many languages. Some students spoke English together. Others spoke Afrikaans. They also heard African languages that the twins did not know. During their English class, their teacher explained, "You already know a little British, Canadian and American English. Here, you'll hear South African English. Don't worry if some words sound different. Listen first. Your ears will get used to the accent." Thomas felt better after hearing this. He now understood that a different accent was not a problem. It was simply another way of speaking the same language. A few days later, the twins met the boy who would become their 5th friend. His name was Liam du Plessis. Liam was 16 years old and studied in Pretoria. He had grown up in an Afrikaans-speaking family and spoke both Afrikaans and English fluently. He loved rugby, hiking and wildlife photography. He often spent his holidays with his grandparents near Franschhoek. His family name came from French ancestors who had arrived in South Africa many generations ago. But Liam could hardly speak French anymore. When he discovered that Thomas and Emma were from France, his face lit up. I know a few words in French. Emma smiled. Which ones? Liam thought for a moment. Bonjour, merci, and baguette. Thomas laughed. With that, you can already survive in France. Liam laughed too. I've always wanted to meet French people. My family sometimes talks about our French ancestors, but France feels very far away to me. Emma smiled at him. Well, now you have 2 French friends. Liam smiled back. A new friendship had just begun. From art to wild animals. Over the next few weeks, the Martin family slowly got used to life in Pretoria. Julian and Claire were very busy. With the Institut Français and their local partners, they were preparing an art exhibition about different cultures. South African artists from different communities were going to show their paintings together with French artists. There would also be a concert during the event. Julian wanted Thomas and Emma to take part again. You could welcome some of the young visitors and tell them about our journey, he suggested. Thomas hesitated for a moment. In English? Claire smiled. Of course. A few months earlier, this answer would have made him nervous. This time, he agreed. He was starting to understand something important. His English did not need to be perfect to communicate with people. On the evening of the exhibition, the walls were covered with colorful paintings. Some showed cities, others showed faces, animals or beautiful South African landscapes. English, French and Afrikaans could be heard around the room. Emma listened to the different conversations. It's strange, she said. We don't understand every language, but everyone can still talk to each other. Liam, who had joined the twins, smiled. Welcome to South Africa. The concert started a little later. The teenagers listened to the music while people from different cultures talked and laughed together. For Thomas and Emma, the evening was another example of what they had discovered during their journey. Sometimes, people did not need to speak the same language perfectly to share something together. A few days later, a completely different adventure was waiting for them. The family traveled to Kruger National Park, one of South Africa's most famous wildlife parks. They were joined by a local South African guide who spoke English. For Thomas and Emma, this was also a new challenge. For several hours, all the explanations would be in English. Very early in the morning, their vehicle slowly moved along a dirt road. The sun was beginning to rise over the African bush. Everyone looked carefully around them. Suddenly, their guide raised his hand. Look over there, he said quietly. Everyone became silent. A few meters away, several elephants were slowly walking between the trees. Emma held her breath. They're beautiful. A baby elephant was walking close to its mother. Thomas picked up his camera, but he did not take a photo immediately. For a few seconds, he simply watched. He wanted to remember the moment with his own eyes first. Later, they saw giraffes, zebras and several antelopes. Their guide also explained why it was important to respect wild animals and always keep a safe distance. Thomas did not understand every English word. But he understood the most important information. And that was enough. He realized that his English had improved a lot since the beginning of their journey. At lunchtime, the family stopped for a break. Liam was traveling with them and opened a small bag. You have to try this, he said. He gave Thomas and Emma some biltong, a popular South African dried meat. Thomas tried a piece. It reminds me a little of dried meat we can find in France. Maybe, Liam replied with a smile. But here, biltong is a big thing. Emma tried some too. I like it. That evening, they discovered another important South African tradition, the braai. Liam explained that a braai was more than simply cooking meat over a fire. A braai is also about spending time together, he said. Family and friends meet, eat and talk. Everyone sat together around the fire as the evening became darker. The conversations continued for a long time. Thomas thought about all the food they had discovered since leaving France: British fish and chips, Canadian poutine, New York pizza and Louisiana jambalaya. Now, they could add biltong and the South African braai to their list. Every country had its own food. But Thomas was beginning to understand that food was about much more than eating. Meals could bring people together. They could tell stories about families, traditions and countries. And once again, traveling was teaching the twins much more than they had expected. Franschhoek, the French corner. A few weeks later, the holidays arrived. The Martin family took a plane to Cape Town. From there, they traveled to Franschhoek, a beautiful town surrounded by mountains. Liam joined him there to spend some time with his family. When Thomas and Emma arrived in the valley, they were surprised by the landscape. Mountains surrounded long rows of vines. Olive trees grew on some farms, and several places had French names. La Provence, La Motte, Cabrières. Emma looked at the signs. Are we still in South Africa? Liam laughed. Yes, but welcome to my family's history. The name Franschhoek means French corner in Afrikaans. The town still remembers the French Huguenots who came to the Cape at the end of the 17th century. After religious problems in France, many French Protestants had to leave their country. A large group arrived at the Cape in 1688 and 1689. Some of them knew a lot about farming and growing grapes. They helped develop wine production in the region. As they walked through the town, Liam suddenly stopped in front of a flag. Thomas looked at it. That's the French flag. Look again, Liam replied. In the middle of the white part, there was an elephant. Why is there an elephant on it? Emma asked. Liam smiled. It's an old flag of Franschhoek. The flag had 3 vertical colors: blue, white and red, just like the French flag, with an elephant in the center. The elephant was connected to the old history of the valley. Long ago, elephants lived in this area, and the place was known by a name connected to Oliphant's Hoek, meaning, elephant's corner. Thomas immediately took a photo. That's definitely going in the notebook. The next day, the family visited the Huguenot monument. Liam's grandfather told them more about his family's history. He explained that, like many descendants of the French Huguenots, his family had stopped speaking French many generations ago. Over time, the French families became part of the local community. Many of their descendants became part of the Afrikaans-speaking population. But some French family names are still found in South Africa today. Liam looked at Thomas and Emma. It's strange. My ancestors spoke your language. But today, I mostly speak Afrikaans and English. Thomas thought for a moment. Languages travel too, I suppose. And sometimes a family can lose a language over time, Emma added. Liam nodded. That's why I'm happy I met you. Now I want to learn a little more French. That evening, the two families shared a meal outside. They tried local food while the sun slowly disappeared behind the mountains. For the teenagers, this week felt different from the other parts of their journey. They had not only discovered a new country, they had also discovered how history could connect people who lived thousands of kilometers apart and many centuries apart. On the evening before they left, Thomas and Emma opened Charlie's notebook. Emma carefully wrote, Liam du Plessis, Pretoria, Franschhoek, South Africa. Then she added his contact details. Thomas completed the page. Languages, Afrikaans plus English. Pretoria, our first experience in a country with so many languages. Kruger, elephants, giraffes, the African bush and English with our guide. Franschhoek, the French Huguenots, vineyards and the flag with an elephant. Emma added one final sentence. Liam has French ancestors. We came here to learn English, but we found a little piece of France in Africa. They were quiet for a few seconds. Their notebook was getting thicker. Charlie, Sophie, Gabrielle, Ethan, Liam. With every new destination, their English was improving. But the way they saw the world was changing too. A few days later, their suitcases were ready again. Julian put the plane tickets on the table. Thomas looked at the destination and smiled. This time, we're going really far away. Emma picked up the notebook and carefully put it in her bag. After the United Kingdom, Canada, the United States and South Africa, there was only one major stop left on their journey. A huge country on the other side of the Indian Ocean. Next stop, Australia.
Écoute l'histoire en anglais, découvre l'accent sud-africain et appuie-toi sur la traduction française à l'écran pour comprendre sans te perdre, et progresser à ton rythme.